When the fans turned on The Rock in 2024, something completely new was born. The final boss.
And to everybody, at the end of the day, it didn't have to be like this.
It was an evil, power-hungry version of Dwayne Johnson that we had never seen before, and what made it so compelling was that it felt real. Not just because the fans rejected him, but because Hollywood was rejecting him as well. The Rock was sick of it all. Sick of the fans, sick of the failures, and the frustration became fuel. That is how the final boss came to life. And WWE had massive plans for this character. The problem is that we never got to see it fully play out. His movie started hitting again, and Hollywood came calling, and just like that, The Rock walked away. But what if he didn't? What if the final boss never left in 2024? Forget the John Cena heel turn, there would be no Cody Rhodes soul storyline, and imagine a world where The Rock never dropped his character and killed one of the hottest stories in WWE history. To find out what happens, we've got to rewind all the way back to the Raw after WrestleMania 40.
I gotta say that this just kinda feels right.
That segment between Cody and The Rock had a deeper meaning. It planted the seeds for their WWE Championship feud. And just like in real life, The Rock disappears for a while. After the family's crushing loss at WrestleMania, the bloodline needs to regroup. Meanwhile, Cody Rhodes moves on and he still feuds with AJ Styles and Logan Paul, just like we saw play out in reality. At this point, everything seems fine, but this is where the story changes. Solo Sikoa was never supposed to lead the bloodline. The WWE only went in that direction after The Rock said he was too busy to continue. In this storyline, that does not happen. Here, Cody Rhodes defends his championship against Solo Sikoa at Money in the Bank, and Cody wins. But the celebration does not last too long. As the match ends, The Rock makes his return. Slowly, deliberately, he steps into the ring. Cody Rhodes stares him down, waiting for words that never come. Instead, The Rock raises his fingers and makes this signal. And that's when Jacob Fatu debuts. With Solo, the two absolutely annihilate Cody Rhodes, and the show closes with The Rock, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and Paul Heyman standing tall, showing that the bloodline is more dangerous than ever. The last words we hear come from The Rock himself, where he looks dead into the camera and says, "I'm ending Cody's story at SummerSlam." The main event is set. Cody Rhodes versus The Rock for the WWE Championship in a Bloodline Rules match. Cody may have finished the story at WrestleMania, but now he has to defend it against the man who pinned him on the biggest stage of them all. And this time, The Rock isn't coming alone. SummerSlam arrives and the stage is massive. The energy is electric, the rivals clash in an epic back and forth, and for a moment it feels like Cody might actually pull it off. He hits the first crossroads, then he picks up The Rock for a second one, and after that the crowd is on fire as Cody powers up, ready to end it once and for all with a final crossroads, but then we see a solo spike followed by a Jacob Fatu super kick. The crossroads is broken. And unlike WrestleMania 40, there's no one to save Cody. No one dares to cross the final boss again. We see a moonsault, then the rock bottom, and finally, the people's elbow. The referee counts to 3. The Rock is our new WWE champion, but the night isn't over. Paul Heyman pulls out his phone, urgently demanding someone comes down to the ring. And that is when Roman Reigns returns. But this Roman isn't the one from our timeline. There's no spark, there's no rebirth, no newfound energy. He looks serious and almost defeated. Carrying the Ula Fala, Roman steps into the ring, and as Samoan tradition demands, he places it over The Rock, the man who now carries the championship, the burden, and the family legacy. The final boss has ascended. He is now the tribal chief. The show closes with the bloodline stronger than ever. The family celebrates, united under The Rock. But not everyone is happy. Roman Reigns stands in the background, silent, heavy with the weight of surrender. He now knows he has no choice but to honor the rules of the Ula Fala. For the bloodline, this was the biggest victory yet. But for Roman Reigns, it was the beginning of the end. The Rock's victory didn't just crown a new champion, it completely changed the landscape of WWE. This wasn't like Roman's bloodline, which revolved around his historic title reign. This was something far more sinister. The Rock took the name Bloodline and twisted it into the most feared faction professional wrestling had ever seen. The best word to describe this new bloodline is evil. Piece by piece, they took everything. With more Samoan family members joining the group, the gold kept piling up. Championships weren't won anymore, they were collected, like trophies on the wall of a crime boss. It wasn't about competition, it was about control. And very quickly, it looked like no one in WWE could stop them. These were the darkest times in company history. The Rock was more than a champion, he was the kingpin of it all. The tribal chief turned WWE into his own empire. Every time someone tried to step up, they were crushed. Every challenger, no matter how brave, was left broken. The message was always the same: defy the bloodline and you'll pay the price. The spirit of WWE was dying. For The Rock, there was only one goal in mind: protect the family legacy. WrestleMania 40 had scarred him. He swore the family would never be embarrassed like that, no matter the cost. And if that meant poisoning the very heart of WWE, then so be it. Because to The Rock, nothing, not the championship, not the fans, not even the future of wrestling itself, is more important than the Anoa'i family.
Wrestling has more than one royal family.
If there's one man who understands what it means to endure hard times, it's Cody Rhodes. For months, WWE had fallen deeper and deeper into darkness after The Rock's title win. The company was suffocating under the iron grip of the bloodline. And then, when it felt like all hope was gone, the American Nightmare returned. Cody wasn't coming back just for himself, he came back to save WWE from the cancer that was rotting it from the inside out. But even Cody knew the truth. One man alone could not take down the bloodline. To fight an empire, he had to build an army. The first call he made was to someone he knew that he could trust, a man who had once stood by his side, a man who knew what it meant to slay monsters: Randy Orton. The Viper did not hesitate. For him, it was all about legacy. It was about standing by Cody when WWE needed them most. But two men were not enough. Cody needed more. So he turned to two rivals. Two men whose hatred for each other was almost as poisonous as the bloodline itself: Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Cody looked them both in the eyes and told them the truth. This is bigger than your feud. This is about the soul of WWE. Reluctantly, Rollins and Punk agreed, but everyone knew it wouldn't be easy. They stood together, but they never took their eyes off of each other either. And finally, Cody knew there was only one missing piece. If you wanted to bring down the bloodline, you needed someone who had lived it. Someone who knew their secrets, their strategies, and their weaknesses. And that man was main event Jey Uso. These five men were the last hope for a dying WWE. And so it was said. Cody's team went to war with The Rock's bloodline at Survivor Series, but it wouldn't be any regular match. This battle needed a stage as brutal as the story itself. It would be War Games! When the cage door slammed shut, WWE became a battlefield on this night. This wasn't a wrestling match, it was war. The match began with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns face to face inside the steel. Jey Uso knows more than anybody what happens when there's an evil tribal chief boss running around. He tried to talk some sense into Roman, but it didn't work out, and that's when the two started fighting it out. As expected, CM Punk and Seth Rollins could not get on the same page, and their beef nearly cost Team WWE the match. Their egos were clearly too big to put aside. The chaos only escalated when Jacob Fatu stole the spotlight with a jaw-dropping leap off the top of the cage, crashing into everybody. After that, we saw Legacy's reunion with Cody and Randy, and even though years had passed, they had not lost a step. Together, they put on a fight that the Bloodline just wasn't expecting, proving that sometimes family does not need to be blood related. And then, the final boss arrived. The Rock entered last, and in that moment, the entire war shifted. With The Rock leading the charge, the Bloodline regained control, and it looked like Team WWE would fall in line just like everyone who got in their way for the last few months. But then came the spear heard round the world. Roman stood in the corner, lining up Cody Rhodes for the spear to end the war, but at the very last second, Cody slipped away, and Roman accidentally ran right into The Rock instead. And then Randy hit Roman with an RKO out of nowhere. Cody crawled across the bloody ring and covered his arm over The Rock for the 1, 2, 3. The war was over. Team WWE had won. Cody Rhodes had pinned The Rock. The winners left the battlefield standing tall, while the Bloodline crumbled. Roman reached down, trying to help The Rock back to his feet, apologizing for the mistake, but The Rock was not interested in apologies. And then, with the entire world watching, The Rock slapped Roman across the face. The steel cage didn't just hold a war that night between the Bloodline and Team WWE, it also held the beginning of a civil war inside the Bloodline. Do you remember when The Rock swore that his family would never be embarrassed again? At War Games, that oath was broken, and now someone had to pay the price. The arena went dark as The Rock walked to the ring with Batu and Sikoa. The tribal chief looked colder than ever. It was clear that a storm was brewing behind those eyes. When he called Roman Reigns to the ring, the tension silenced the entire crowd. Roman stood face to face with his cousin with nothing to say. The Rock's voice cut through the silence, and Dwayne said, "You've become the weakness of this family. You lost the championship at WrestleMania. You doubted us at SummerSlam when the family stood tall, and now at War Games, you embarrassed us all. I told the world this family would never be humiliated again, and you made me a liar." Then, with venom in his tone, The Rock delivered this sentence: "You know what must come next." The final boss slowly unstrapped his weight belts. The camera zoomed in on his face, and it wasn't anger, but instead satisfaction. A cruel ritual was about to be carried out. Roman shook his head, refusing at first, but he knows the Samoan tradition better than anyone. After a tense pause, he turned his back. The first whip cracked like a gunshot, then another, and another. Roman's body jolted with each strike, but he stood tall, refusing to fall to the ground. The Rock's expression twisted into something terrifying. It looked like he was actually enjoying all of it. 10 lashes in, and Roman's skin was welted, his body was scarred, and his pride completely shattered. And that's when Cody Rhodes stormed down the ramp with a steel chair in hand. He slid into the ring, swinging it, forcing them to retreat, but Roman didn't even thank him. He shoved Cody Rhodes back, torn between rebellion and loyalty. After a long hesitation, he turned his back on Cody and walked out with the Bloodline. The visual was haunting. Roman, bruised and broken, still choosing family over freedom. Cody picked up the mic and said, "Rock, you call yourself the final boss. You call yourself the tribal chief, but remember this. I pinned you at Survivor Series, and that means I get a shot at the WWE Championship, and it's not going to be down the line. No, it's going to happen on the debut episode of Raw on Netflix. Cody Rhodes versus The Rock for the WWE title. Oh, and also,
Hey, Rock! Go yourself!
And so The Rock and Cody Rhodes stood face to face in the middle of the squared circle. The WWE Championship hung in the balance, but for Cody, this was a lot more than gold. It was about the promise that he made to the fans, the promise that he would save WWE from the Bloodline. But sadly, that's not how this story goes. I wish I could tell you that Cody Rhodes won the championship. I wish I could say that he finally ended the Bloodline and restored balance to WWE. but I can't, because this isn't a happy story. At least, it's not a happy story for Cody Rhodes. The Rock was too much. That's why they call him the final boss. He wasn't just powerful, he was untouchable. And now that he was the tribal chief, he was also too protected. Every time Cody Rhodes clawed his way toward victory, the Bloodline made sure to stop him. Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and Roman Reigns all came down to the ring, and their looming presence tilted the scales. But this is Cody Rhodes we're talking about, and he refused to die. He fought through the numbers game. He took out Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. The crowd went crazy as Cody stood tall against impossible odds. And all the while, Roman watched silently, feeling uneasy. You could see that he was a man torn apart inside. He did not want to interfere, but he also knew that one more mistake could cost him family. Then it happened. Cody Rhodes hit back-to-back crossroads. The arena shook as he hooked The Rock again, ready for the third and final strike to end this nightmare. And with hesitation burning in his eyes, Roman Reigns slid in the ring. He hesitated, and you could see that he was regretting it, but in the end, he speared Cody Rhodes. The Rock threw his head back and laughed. It was a wild and sinister laugh, like a man drunk on his own power. But when the dust settled, it was The Rock who stood tall, still WWE champion, and still the final boss. Cody's dream was shattered once again, but the nightmare wasn't over. The Rock demanded more. He ordered Solo and Jacob to tear Cody apart, and they obeyed without hesitation. They left Cody broken on the mat, and then came the weight belts. The same punishment The Rock used on Roman, and now it was Cody's turn. Whip after whip echoed throughout the arena. Cody screamed in pain, and Roman flinched with every strike. He pleaded, saying, "That's enough. The Cody problem is over." But The Rock wasn't finished. He locked eyes with Roman. He raised the belt and commanded him to finish it. The crowd froze. Roman froze. This was the moment. Should he obey The Rock or defy him? He lifted the belt, standing over Cody, and in that instance, his whole reign flashed before him. The torment of Jey Uso, the betrayal of Sami Zayn, the manipulation, the cruelty, and the sins all came back. Roman realized he wasn't the tribal chief anymore, he was just another victim, and he made a decision to choose redemption. Instead of striking Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns whipped The Rock. The arena exploded, fans all jumped out of their seats. The final boss staggered back in disbelief and retreated. Solo charged at Roman, but was met with a Superman punch, and Jacob leaped right into a spear. And then, Roman reached down, and he lifted Cody Rhodes back to his feet, and he shook his hand. The entire landscape of WWE changed. The show closed on 3 images burned into WWE history. The Rock retreating in confusion, anger, and heartbreak. Roman Reigns standing tall, no longer bound by the chains of the Bloodline, and Cody Rhodes caught in the middle, who shifted his focus onto Roman Reigns. After walking away from the Bloodline, Roman Reigns finally spoke. He stood in the center of the ring, and Roman declared that his new mission was simple: destroy the Bloodline. And to do that, he was officially entering the Royal Rumble. He said he's the only man alive with the strength, the scars, and the will to finish this war. But before he could go any further, Cody came marching down to the ring. Only this wasn't the smiling, hopeful Cody of old. There was an edge in his eyes, a chip on his shoulder. He got in Roman's face and told him flat out, that's not true. Cody said that he would have beaten The Rock twice if it wasn't for Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. He reminded Roman that every time he's gotten close to finishing the story, it's been Roman who cost him. And now he's done playing the nice guy. He does not care about redemption arcs. He doesn't care about Roman's guilt. Cody said the one who's going to end The Rock's tyranny at WrestleMania isn't Roman Reigns, but instead, it's the American Nightmare. And it all starts with him winning the Royal Rumble. The two men stared each other down, claiming the same destiny, and that is when The Rock's music hit. The final boss walked out on the stage with that trademark smirk. He mocked both men, saying that they were blinded by ego. Neither of them could take down the tribal chief. In fact, nobody could. He said it didn't matter how many tears Roman cried about redemption or how many times Cody whined about his story, The Rock wasn't going anywhere. And then he dropped the bombshell. He wished them both luck in the Rumble because he said they were going to need it. Thanks to his corporate power, The Rock made it official. Roman Reigns would enter the Royal Rumble at number 1 and Cody Rhodes would enter at number 2. The Rock laughed as he walked away, and the two men with the same goal in mind had to now fight from the very bottom, just the way that The Rock wanted it. Heading into the Royal Rumble, and the odds were stacked impossibly high against Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Neither man trusted each other. Their eyes said it all. They refused to form a partnership, and early on, the match started with a tense stare down. Then they exchanged words, glares, and shoves. It looked like things were ready to blow up at any moment, but then the clock counted down, and number 3 came to the ring. A new challenger came to the ring, then another, and the chaos of the Rumble kept Roman and Cody apart. They didn't fight, not yet. It all built to a final stretch. By the time the ring cleared down, only 5 men remained: Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and John Cena. The crowd was patiently waiting for the number 30th entrant, and the buzzer hit. But instead of one man, it was an ambush. The Bloodline's music hit, and 6 members entered the match together. This wasn't a fair fight, it was corruption. It was a hijack of the Rumble itself. They swarmed the ring, and AJ Styles was the first victim, tossed like nothing. Then they circled the others. Cena, Orton, Cody, and Roman realized the only way to survive was to fight side by side. For the first time all night, they stood together. All the fans hoped that they could pull off the impossible, but the numbers game was too much. John Cena got hurled over the ropes. Randy Orton followed despite one last RKO out of nowhere, and the Dream Team was reduced to 2 men, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. In this moment, the bitter rivals were forced to become brothers in arms. Together, they turned the tide. They started eliminating member after member, and the unthinkable happened. The unstoppable Bloodline was being dismantled before our very eyes. And just like that, the ring was down to 4. Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Cody Rhodes, and Roman Reigns. At the same time, Cody and Roman eliminated the last 2 members of the Bloodline, and just like that, we were down to the final 2. This was the rivalry that defined this generation. These are the 2 men who both believed that they were the one destined to dethrone The Rock and save WWE. For Roman, this was about redemption. He's haunted by his failures, desperate to restore the honor that he lost. And for Cody, this is about revenge. The American Nightmare wants justice after being robbed, beaten, and humiliated. They have the same goal in mind: take down the final boss at WrestleMania. And it always comes back to these 2. Every milestone, every championship, every defining moment of the modern era, Roman and Cody have been at the center of it all. And now, destiny demanded that they fight one more time. The fans didn't know who to cheer for as the 2 clashed. Back and forth they went, emptying their arsenals. You saw spears, crossroads, Cody cutters, Superman punches, everything they had. Each time they fell, they found the strength to rise again. Neither man would quit. Neither man would stay down. Minutes felt like hours as they pushed past exhaustion. Every movement was fueled by pure willpower. And then, at their breaking point, Cody called on his father's legacy. He fired up the crowd with a bionic elbow. The spirit of Dusty Rhodes was flowing through him. And that's when Cody set up for the finishing blow, one final Cody cutter. But this moment would become his greatest mistake. As Cody leapt onto the ropes, Roman's instincts kicked in. In one desperate motion, he shoved Cody off balance, sending him crashing over the top rope. Cody hit the floor and the bell rang. Roman Reigns had done it. Against all odds, he stood tall as the winner of the 2025 Royal Rumble. The crowd was torn. Some cheered, some cried, others just sat in stunned silence. Cody's dream was ripped away once again. As for Roman, he wasn't even celebrating. He stood in the ring with his eyes locked on the WrestleMania sign with all the weight of destiny on his shoulders. Roman Reigns was going to WrestleMania 41 and he knew that he needed to be prepared for the war with the Tribal Chief. And here we are, WrestleMania 41, this timeline's greatest stage, and we have a card unlike anything we've ever seen before. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for the first time ever. Gunther versus John Cena for the World Championship. Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes, a personal battle that was born out of Cody's new edge. And then we've got the main event, the biggest wrestling match of all time. Roman Reigns versus The Rock. But this isn't just about the WWE Championship. This isn't just about family, it's about the future of professional wrestling. The winner leaves with the title. The winner also leaves with the Ula Fala. And most importantly, the winner decides the fate of WWE. And by Samoan tradition, no one can interfere. This is a sacred tribal battle that stays between these two men. Roman Reigns makes his grand entrance first, walking with the intention to make The Rock acknowledge him. The crowd is also fully behind him, believing that he can save WWE. The Rock follows, and his entrance is a cinematic display of the Anoa'i family tree, reminding everyone that this dynasty was built on his back. He's not stepping into the ring as a movie star or even as the people's champion. He comes as the final boss. And so the referee raises both the WWE title and the Ula Fala high into the air, and the bell rings. It begins. The dream match we've waited for, Roman Reigns versus The Rock with everything on the line. And for 40 minutes, the two wage war. It's a back and forth with every fan on the edge of their seat. The Rock throws everything at his cousin, multiple rock bottoms and people's elbows, but it's not enough. Roman keeps getting up. At one point, The Rock hits Roman with a low blow when the referee is down. He follows it up with a rock bottom and one final people's elbow. The Rock knew this was the end, but somehow Roman powers out at a count of 1. The Rock's face tells the entire story. He was in complete disbelief. There was even some fear developing. For the first time, the final boss didn't feel untouchable. The Rock looked into Roman's eyes and pleaded for mercy. The same Rock who abused Roman Reigns and tried to destroy WWE was now begging for family. But Roman shook his head and said,
It didn't have to be like this.
The words sting like a dagger. It was a callback to The Rock's own promo from the night that he fully embraced the darkness. And now, the circle is complete. As tears drip down Roman's face, he tells The Rock, I love you. And then he charges at him for one final spear. The referee counts 1, 2, 3. Roman Reigns did it. The WWE Championship is his. The Tribal Chief mantle is his. And WWE is saved. But this isn't a victory born out of hatred. He helps The Rock to his feet and the two embrace in the center of the ring. The Rock knows it's over and he accepts it. With dignity, he drapes the Ula Fala over Roman's neck, acknowledging him as the one true Tribal Chief. And then, in a symbolic gesture, The Rock leaves behind his final elbow pad in the center of the ring, concluding his legendary career, and he walks away. The camera pans up, and Roman celebrates with the WWE Championship standing tall as the new Tribal Chief, and the nightmare is finally over.
But then, the cheers suddenly halt, and you can sense something evil is about to happen. From behind, a shadow creeps into the frame. It's Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, the man who swore to save WWE. And in one haunting moment, he grabs Roman for the crossroads. The crowd is utterly shocked. Cody kneels over Roman with a twisted smirk creeping across his face. The Cody we knew from before is dead. In his place is something much darker. Homelander Cody has arrived.